Yeah, that's a lot what the chiropractic, that's what we were teaching each other. So there's a lot in medicine that you can do, a lot of natural products, which of course we're denied from having in those, but lots of natural products that you can do to detox. The same thing at the toxicology meeting at the IAOMT. You can certainly write me or call me, and I'll send you to some good doctors in the area. So we tend to consult and work people and say, okay, there's a company called QuicksilverScientific.com that has a really nice detox and some, you need to get into parasympathetic healing, so some broad spectrum cannabis products that Nurse Erin knows a lot about, so she can help you with those. So we're healing people, and they can allow to slowly to detox from some of these things. Sure.
Just because there's probably a lot of those questions, and I remember even over the years when we've done vaccine seminars, and always try to be sensitive to this, right? I mean, I happened to learn some of this before, so my kids were not vaccinated, but I was, and we all say, well, what do we do? And there's nothing harder sometimes even when there's no injury or visible injury, right? The thing I appreciate it as a chiropractor, which is I was giving a talk to this room of old, they happened to be retired pastors, so they would have called themselves old, okay? I'm from the Midwest, South Dakota, so we always, you see cornfields and all of these things, right? And if you went up to a farmer, because he said to me, he came up after the talk and he said, but Dr. Ben, we just want a quick fix. And I said, I don't know if I believe that. We've been convinced that there's something that is that, right? There's no such thing as a quick fix. If I told you I could plant this, grain of corn and it would be harvested tomorrow, you'd say that's impossible, we shouldn't do that, we shouldn't eat that, something's not right about that. So when we're looking to healing, the thing that I would want to encourage you on is there's nothing more incredible than the power that is in the body to heal, all right? And even in the midst of all of this and these amazing products, I'm not downplaying any of that. But let us remember in the hour and 15 minutes we've sat here, your body's made millions of cells. It's fought millions of viruses. It's healed cancer as you sat here. It's restoring things that we can't even fathom, we'll never understand, and aren't even designed to. All right. However, that doesn't downplay us going after that. But the perspective of that is so important. But real health is a long play. Right? It's the foods we eat, it's the air we breathe, it's the water we drink, it's the mental health of our families. My wife and I were having a health discussion on the way here today, and we were saying, well, what about nutrition? I said, babe, that's awesome too, but stress is as real as that, right? The number one cause of heart attacks is the stress, not lack of CoQ10. Now you should have that too, right? But let's not miss the big picture. So as you're walking through this as a dad that's maybe vaccinated his child, or all the things that we've done as parents, right, that we beat ourselves up about. Health is available. It's a long play. Find a doctor that aligns with that mindset, whether it's virtual or it's a local chiropractor or naturopath or an MD that's woke up. But it's not usually a quick fix because the body just doesn't work that way, right? You break a bone, you set the bone, it's not yet healed. It will. Matter of fact, it will heal stronger in the place it was broken. It will never break in the same place. It will break above it or below it because it's actually stronger where the body knitted it back together. All right? But just find somebody on your team that will walk you through that because we've been so brainwashed, right? What supplement do I need? What vitamin? Listen, those are awesome. Okay? But just never forget how incredible, even in the midst of that your body is to heal. So that's my 2 cents.
That's why the chiropractors are the only doctors we go to.
Can't hear you.
She'll repeat the question.
Okay, so I'm an autism mom. I've been on a journey since 2011, it was. But I've learned a lot about behavior, and I've learned a lot about cognition, and I've learned a lot about the brain as well. So behavior to me is how a child sees, how a child hears, and how a child feels. Okay, and we have 2 more senses that nobody ever pays attention to. There's a gravity sense, and there's also a just forgot which one. Balance, but that's not a sense. It's a muscle sense, which is really important, and we totally ignore that. So it's like when I hear the dangerous child, you know what? No, it's probably the angry child. It's probably the child that's not learning the way they learn. And now from all of this that I never learned auditorily, but that's how I was taught. Okay, I'm a visual learner or a kinesthetic learner. I'm not an auditory learner. And for a long time, that's all they taught, is to auditory learners. And just for an example, like visual processing is huge. It's like 80, so if you have trouble processing visually, that's related to 80% of your sensory system. That is huge, and we're not paying attention to that. But just for an example, as far as visual processing goes, and this is how important it is, I made a 9 on my ACT test, and I was an above average student in high school. Okay, the reason I did was because my eyes weren't visually processing. So I thought I was like bubbling in the B, and I should have bubbled in the C. Now, how did that relate to the test results, right? How did that relate to where I could go to college? And I'm not the only one. There's lots of people that that's happened to. So kids have a reason to be angry at school. And I think when they get angry, yeah, they get dangerous. So we need to start figuring out what has happened to the kids and start addressing that. Because
Okay, so when I said dangerous child, I'm not talking about autism. I'm talking about the children who are chronically being violent. Like punching
cell
people.
phones and beating people up.
Yes. And then their friends making TikToks of it and sharing it. That's very different from a child with a disability or an issue and all of that. What happened a long time ago? So my brother was one of the violent kids in school. Okay, he beat people up all the time. They didn't kick him out of school to secondary until 7th grade. Okay, they've stopped secondary education the way it used to be. And that's part of the problem, okay, in the school system. And by the way, real quick, whether you homeschool or whether your kids go to Christian school or whether your kids go to public school, you're all students of the county. And you pay for it. Okay, so don't ever think I homeschooled, it's not my problem anymore. If you're a Christian, you're accountable for the money that God gave you and where it's going. You're 100% accountable. And anyway, so my brother, when they put him in secondary school, that's when they realized he was severely dyslexic. Guess what? He stopped punching people. He learned. They talked to him. But what restorative practice is stopping that process. So usually they catch autism pretty early, and there's interventions for that. And the public school system is usually pretty good on that. But when it comes to other issues, they're not. And that's what I mean by dangerous kid, the one that is wearing the ankle monitor and sharing vodka on the bus stop. Yeah.
I want to touch on something too. The educational system now has integrated a lot of computers, iPads. Kids are now learning digitally. I recommend every person, whether you're a parent or not, to pick up the book Glow Kids and read it. Glow. Glow Kids. It will blow your mind on how electronics physically change children. Their abilities to fight illnesses, their ability to fight stress. It becomes an actual addiction. They hire psychotherapists. The gaming industry hires psychotherapists that will put probes on people while they play a game. And when they hit that release of dopamine and endorphins, they recode that over and over and over throughout games so that kids get a dopamine hit and want that virtual orgasm, so to speak. That's what they call it. They're constantly looking for that instant gratification. And they do this with social media. They do this now in educational games. Your children are not learning through those games. The Oregon Trail, ask any child who has done it if they actually learned about the Oregon Trail. And it's rated one of the best educational games. And it's probably in every school. and probably in a lot of homeschooling families' library. Glow Kids, read it. Your children, their minds are being changed. There are pediatricians saying that when they do cognitive tests on infants, for example, sticking your finger out, most babies will grab it. Babies are now swiping. We're changing ourselves evolutionary, and it's dangerous. Just wanted to make that point.
Oh my God.
Hey guys, first of all, thank you very much for all you're doing. So we just got back. So my girlfriends and I did a rally this morning. We kind of did a miniature version of what you're seeing here. And we had Dr. Christopher Hood, so Dr. So Christopher was talking, and Kasia Ostrinska. And, we started out by saying, so what's the end game? So the name of our meeting was the Common Sense, Truth, and Freedom Rally. So right now, I think we've all become truth activists. So we're trying to get that out. But we want to implore people like you guys to walk into the stores, to be bold, but also you got to learn the truth. So a lot of people that were there, they intuitively knew something's not right, but they need to get educated. So we had poster boards with all the documentaries. We had Plandemic and all of them, Brian Rose, everything that they could see. So they're all taking pictures and they're getting educated. But here's the deal. The Pinellas County Board, the board meeting is on Tuesday for the school board. Meeting is on Tuesday, and then on Thursday it's the commissioner. Now she wants to take this regionally. So our voices all need to be heard. Yeah. You guys need to be calling in. You got to email them, you got to write them, and they call on 9:30 on Thursday. We need it. So for you guys, they're asking for doctors who are on the opposite aisle. Because they're like, there's two sides of the aisle. There's one side that's thinking they're believing the CDC and all that's going on there, and then there's the other side. But we're not hearing from the other side. So if you guys could do a call with one of the doctors, Dr. Cho is the doctor. Do you guys know Dr. Cho? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we would love to get a doctor who believes on the other side to talk to Dr. Cho and Dr. Jameson, because they are continuing the emergency order. Our numbers are upside down. You guys know what the numbers are. Yes.
Okay, so fighting people, right? It's my favorite thing to do. Don't make me mad, I'll find you. Okay, so this is what I was thinking. So if you can define what an emergency is, then you can define what an emergency is not. If you can't tell me the numbers hitting this is not an emergency, burn your mask. Like, you don't have any authority to tell me that. If you can't tell me this number is the emergency, well then what's not the emergency? Well, we don't know. Well, then you don't have an emergency. That's
Even if it was an emergency, medical freedom.
I mean, and yeah. But that's what I was thinking. I was looking last night and know your laws, like she said. Know your laws, know the statutes, know who answers to who. They are stonewalling you. And they stonewalled you before you ever showed up. So when you walked in there, we want to not wear a mask. They're like, we don't even hear you. That's exactly what's going on. So you know what? Recall. We need to literally form a committee of people. We need someone to go after recall. We need maybe 2 or 3. Go after recall hardcore. We need a bunch of people just to pull stupid suits. You made me mad. I'm suing you. Like seriously, like just, and this is what the left does to us. Okay? They put us out of business. I've had my business attacked. I've had my children verbally attacked. I've had people dox me. I'm on Antifa's most wanted list. I'm going to make it into a shirt. And I wear it. I'm most wanted. And then, but I think we should attack it different ways. I know it's my right, but if you can't tell me what an emergency is and what an emergency isn't, there's no emergency.
Yep.
When you address your public servants, please make sure you're addressing them in that manner. They work for you. You don't say please, you don't beg. You can be polite. Of course, be polite. But you act like the bosses that you are. You don't beg or plead. You serve them notices. This is what you're doing wrong, and I'm going to hold you accountable. There is still a lawful and peaceful way to restoration. And there are several ways to get to the same end. I just want you to think about something. When you ask the people who are harming you